Hello, I am Aliceson Bales. Thank you for being here. I am going to talk with you today about homeschooling and encourage you all to homeschool your little children or your not so little children, whatever the case may be. Yes, up. You need it up, 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 up. They say they need it up. Okay. Have y'all had a good time? Everybody having fun here? Good. Who's the best speaker that you've heard? Who have you loved? Oh, thanks. Really, who have you loved? Daryl Patton? Oh, okay. Oh, Dr. Hutton. I saw him last year. I wasn't able to see him yesterday, but I saw him last year. And now every time I put on a pair of sunglasses, I feel guilty. Did he talk about that yesterday? Oh, yeah. He has all this scientific research about how wearing sunglasses disrupts our brains and all kinds of things, and that's why we get sunburned, and that's why we have trouble sleeping, all kinds of things. So yeah, you should ask him about that. If he doesn't talk about that, it's great. He's great. Yeah. Okay, well, if you cannot see, I have a slideshow here, so if you can't see and you want to move around to where you can, you might want to do that. You can even come here in the center here and sit on the grass if you want. If you feel like later you wish you would have been able to see, come and ask me, and I will either show you slides that you want to see, or I can share the presentation with you. But you might want to move if you can't see. I know sometimes it's hard to see everything, but I will try to talk you through things. So I hope everybody here is here to learn how to homeschool, because you all can do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it well, and your kids are going to succeed, because guess what? Nobody wants your kids to succeed more than you. Right? Nobody loves their kids more than you. Nobody wants them to succeed more than you, because if they don't succeed, they're going to be living in your basement, sleeping on your couch. And nobody wants that, right? We all want successful kids. So, who I am, because you're here and you want to know what in the world I'm doing talking. I co-own and operate Bales Farms in Greene County, which is halfway between Knoxville and Bristol, Tennessee. Everybody tracking with me? Everybody know where Knoxville is? Go Vols. Yeah, and Tri-Cities. Do y'all know Tri-Cities? Bristol, Kingsport, Johnson City. Yeah. So that's where we are. We're halfway in between there. We're in a very rural area. By education, I'm a physical therapist. I went to college before some of you cute young things were born, and I went to UT Chattanooga. Go Mocs. I am an accidental homeschool mom. I did not think ever that I would homeschool. I never wanted to homeschool. I loved my job as a physical therapist. It was great. I said I was like a bartender, because I worked in an outpatient orthopedic clinic, and I was an orthopedic specialist. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of testing, a lot of research, a lot of writing. And so people would come to me. They'd make appointments, and they'd come to me, and I'd fluff them up, help them feel a little bit better. They'd tell me all their problems, and then they'd walk out happier. So I loved it. But I felt like God was calling me to be a better steward of the blessings that he had given me, of the land, of the time, of all the blessings that he had poured out on my husband and I. And so reluctantly I said, okay, I'll start meeting with people and I'll look about this thing, but I don't want a weird kid. I don't want him to be weird and not have any social skills, which is what everybody thinks, right? Everybody thinks, people say all the time. I love it. I love it when people say, who have never homeschooled in their lives, and they come to you and they say, but your kid's going to be weird. We had somebody the other day say, well, what are you going to do? how's he going to graduate high school? Will he get a diploma? Yeah. He'll get a whole thing. And he said, well, what's he going to do? He can't go to college. Yeah, he can go to college. So this person who had never taken any interest in his own children's education and never homeschooled a day in his life is suddenly an expert in telling me how I'm wrong homeschooling. I'm sure you all get that if you are homeschooling. So anyway, I've homeschooled our son for 13 years, and then I'm president of our homeschool cooperative in Greenville, Tennessee. I've been a member and a teacher at Heritage Home Scholars since we started, and then the president for too long. Our cooperative school is one of the largest schools in our area. I cap it at 200 students per hour, not because that's all we have, but that's because that's the number that I'm comfortable with. And we have a 3 to 4 year waiting list for our cooperative school. We do a really good job at that cooperative school, and I'm really thankful for it. We had some great people that set it up, and I get to walk alongside them. The first thing I tell people when you're thinking about homeschooling, do we have anybody in here who's thinking about homeschooling who hasn't? Okay, wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. That's awesome. Y'all can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I promise. I promise. One thing you need to think about is your why, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but not every day will feel like you're at Disney. There are going to be days when your sweet little children need their heads pinched off. And there are going to be days when you feel like screaming. And maybe you need to take a 10-minute break so you don't pinch their heads off. And let them get themselves together and you get yourself together. Those days will come, so you need to know your why. Okay, here's my why. Why are you homeschooling? I homeschooled because I wanted to customize my child's education. And I'm very, very, very deep into research. I love research. And I'm a science and I'm a math gal. And I found out early on that my son was too, but I am not an English language arts gal. Thankfully, my husband's a songwriter. Who stayed through the storm to watch the music last night? Anybody? Yeah. Did y'all like it? Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Did you know that those people had never, like the musicians, had never heard that music? They were like, yeah. They had charts, but they'd never played together as a band. So I thought it sounded really great anyway, but especially for that. But anyway, so my husband is a songwriter. And he's a musician. He was on stage last night. He'll be on stage again tonight. And so he thankfully has the English language arts taken care of. But so customization of education was one reason that I wanted to homeschool. I also wanted to be in charge of our own schedule, which on a farm changes with every season, because I'm sure some of you have huge working farms with lots and lots and lots of employees. But on my farm, it's my husband, myself, and our son. And if you saw me yesterday, who hasn't seen me? Who has no idea who I am? Okay, so I live on a farm with my husband. It's a century farm. It's been in his family since 1882, so we're a little older than Yellowstone, if you watch that show. And we raise grass-fed and grass-finished beef, pastured pork, pastured poultry, and our son has an egg operation. And then we also do off-farm things like podcasts, and I have a cookbook that's out, and I'm on a national cooking show, and then my husband's on a show that features family farms, family ranches across America, and we do some other speaking engagements and that type of thing. So that's who I am on farm. And so we need to, like, April and September are very busy on our farm. So we need to not have so much going on with school in April and September, and then hit it really hard, especially in the winter. I also want a flexibility for travel, because since my husband is a musician, he plays with this gal named Aliceson Bales, and she has been she's been traveling. They generally, pre-COVID, travel all summer long. So from May 25th until the 1st of September, he's generally gone. And so if we want to take a family vacation, we take a family vacation in November or March. So I needed some flexibility for that. I also wanted to focus on areas of strength and weaknesses. But what's your why? Are you wanting to get out of the rat race? Do you want independence in decision making? Do you want to be in charge of your child's education? What a concept. Do you want an education centered on Christ, or maybe you don't want Christ mentioned, right? I mean, there's a whole spectrum of people who homeschool. Do you want government to stay out of your child's education? Do you want your child to be safe? Do you want to sleep until noon? Do you want to live off the grid? All these are legitimate reasons why to homeschool. I'm going to share some statistics with you. So this is, if you want to see these stats, I'll be reading them out, but some of them, there are going to be bar graphs and stuff, so you might want to move. And honestly, I don't foresee anybody else coming into the VIPs, so there are a few seats up here if anybody wants to move and see. Or if you're comfortable where you are and you want to take a nap. It's hot, and you've had lunch. Did everybody have a good lunch? Okay, where's the best? I've had a juice. It was fantastic. Anything else I've got to have before I leave? Kombucha? Yeah, they hit me up on the kombucha coming in. I'll be honest. If I do all juice and then kombucha, whoo, we might have a cleanse here that you might not want to see. I don't know. I do a lot of kombucha at home, so I did have the Energize juice, and it was great. It was so good. No ice in it, so it was filled completely to the top with juice. It was really, really, really great. At P&B? B&B? Okay, sourdough. It's hot off the presses. She's eating it right now. Oh, you love it too? Okay, we've got 2 recommendations for the B&B sourdough bread. Okay, so, all right, if you want to have moved, I hope you have moved. Some statistics in case you're still on the fence about homeschooling. 3 to 4% of school-aged children are homeschooled in America. That seems really low, but there's been a large increase in homeschooling since 1999. There's been a 75% increase. So it's growing. It's growing. 73% of parents state a dissatisfaction with the public school system as a primary reason for homeschooling. I will say, let me say parenthetically here that I am not necessarily against public schooling. Where we live, we have a lovely public school system, and two of our best friends are married, and we have a standing date night every week with them. And the husband is the assistant superintendent at the county in which we live, and his wife is now in the central office, but both of them have been public school teachers their entire career. And I have other really good friends who are public school teachers. So I'm not like bashing public school, okay? I just wanted to say that. So in case anybody is listening. But anyway, but there is a dissatisfaction with public schools in some people. Now, that's not why I chose it. I started walking down this homeschooling journey because I wanted to have flexibility. I wanted to be able to travel with my husband, all those things. So this is a question that I get. I talk to a lot of people. So I homeschool our son, but I also homeschool. I probably teach every week. I probably teach about 60 kids in my home. Well, no, more than that, probably 80 kids in my home and at the homeschool cooperative between the classes that I teach. And then we do some like apologetics stuff and history. I'm a big history buff. And then science, obviously. So this is a question that I get when I talk to people who are thinking about homeschooling, especially people who are thinking about joining our homeschool cooperative. They always say, how do I know that I can do it? And what I always say is, no one loves your children more than you, what I said at the beginning, and no one wants your children to succeed more than you. You can do it. You can be successful at homeschooling. So I have some scores here, some national average percentile scores, okay? And this is across the board, across the nation. And I know you might not be able to see every detail of this slide, but the reason that I wanted to show it to you is because there are two colors that you need to pay attention to on this slide, kind of a green color and kind of a pinkish red color, depending on where you're standing. And what you'll see is the green color are the homeschool scores of national achievement tests. Now, I know some people are going to be in here and say, oh, you should never test your children. And some people are going to say, whoo-wee, I'm glad that you're testing your children. So, it's up to you. I will say I test my child from pre-K to 9th grade. He got tested. And I was a proctor, so I could test him, and I did other kids as well because I just wanted to make sure that he was where he needed to be. If you choose not to test your children, you're going to know that they're where they need to be some other way. But I am research. I want numbers. I'm a math girl. I want stats. I want to be able, when somebody says, I don't know if Marshall's kicking it, I can go, here you go. Let me show you his paper. And so there are others like me who test their kids. And, of course, in the public schools, you got to test them. So what I wanted you to see here is when it comes to test taking, homeschool kids consistently outperform public school kids. So when you look at, I'll read this for those of you who can't see it, but what you see is a whole lot of green, right? The green's way higher than the pink or the red, right? So in reading, language arts, math, science, social studies, and then combination of all of the subjects, and then combination of just the ELA and the math. They are outperforming public school kids in huge amounts. So like in reading, it's an 89 average score nationally for homeschool kids and a 50 for public school kids. And all of the scores for the homeschool kids are in the high 80s, and all of them are 50 for the public school kids. So in achievement tests, they're outperforming public schoolers. Okay, so, but that's just one test, right? So now let's look at the grade point average throughout high school. So let's not just look at one test. Let's look at them for 4 years. Okay, let's look at homeschool kids versus public school kids for 4 years. And what you see is over 4 years, the average. So do y'all know GPAs 0 to 4, right? And now in public school, they can weight those GPAs. Do y'all know about weighted GPAs? Everybody familiar with those? Yes, no? Weighted GPAs, you can go like to, depending on what classes that you take in public school, you could go to a 5, or you can even go to a 6 in some cases. So they can get a much higher GPA than homeschool kids. Homeschool kids are still at 4 because who can weight their GPA at home? Nobody. So the GPA of homeschool kids across the nation, the average is a 3.46 average. And then public schools, 3.16. So even though they can weight it, and even though they can take classes to get a higher GPA and have their grade higher, depending on where you go to school, homeschool kids are still kicking it. They're still outperforming the public school kids. And that's over 4 years. So we've looked at one test, and then we've looked at over 4 years. And now let's look at college level, because that's really where the rubber meets the road, right? Like, it's all fun and games in elementary school, and then you got to, like, really figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to be successful in life. And then college. So the college graduation rates, 66.7% of homeschool kids graduate on time versus 57% of public and private school kids. So higher test scores, higher grade point average over 4 years, and now higher success rates in college. So it's pretty good, I think, for homeschool kids. Homeschool kids outscore public school kids in communication skills, what we in medicine call activities of daily living, those things that you've got to do to be a successful human, like have a job, have a driver's license, pass your driver's test. Homeschool kids are outperforming public school kids in passing that driver's test, passing the written test. In Tennessee, I don't know how it is in other states. I know some states break it up and some states don't. But in Tennessee, you take your written test at 15 or whenever you go to get your driver's permit, and then at 16, it's just a driver's test. So some states bust those up like that, and some states have them at the same time. Either way, homeschool kids are outperforming public school kids. They have decreased rates of accidents. Good for you, mom and dad, that they have lower rates for insurance, for car insurance. Our kid is 16, so that's nice to know. Socialization. They score higher with socialization tests. So not only are they not weird, they can talk to people. I don't know, do y'all know the Salatons that are out there, Joel Salatin and his family? I've been hanging out with them. That's where I'm mostly selling and signing cookbooks. But Daniel brought his son Andrew. Andrew is a junior in high school. And, he's just a joy to be around. He's a homeschool kid. He's just a joy to be around. Most homeschool kids are. And then maturity. They're just more mature. They're scoring higher when they look at those markers. So, meanwhile, in the public school, again, I'm not here to bash public schools. I don't hate public schools. Numbers don't lie, right? And these stats are on the scales, unfortunately. Numbers don't lie. So, meanwhile, in the public schools, 37% nationwide, 37% of students read below the grade level nationally. 37% read below the grade level. This is according to what came out last year. So this is the nationwide achievement testing and ratings have not come out. Tennessee is releasing their scores for ELA, and we'll go over that in a minute. But nationally, at the end of last year, the 2022 school year, 37% of kids were reading below grade level. We've decreased the numbers of students reading above grade level and increased the numbers of students reading below grade level. And this is not a COVID issue. And that's what people keep saying. Oh, it's COVID. There's, we've had slowdowns because of COVID, but I'm going to show you in a minute it's not because of COVID. This goes back more years than that. So in Tennessee, as I said, Tennessee's putting out their testing results this year. Who lives in Tennessee here? Okay. So have y'all heard about the results? It's been on the news a lot. But in the state of Tennessee, this year's test in Tennessee. So, okay, for those of you not in Tennessee, if you are not proficient in ELA on your achievement test in third grade, meaning if you're performing below grade level, you are supposed to be held back in third grade. Okay, in the state of Tennessee. Alabama too, yeah. Yeah, so in Tennessee has released because they got last year, they didn't release them until September. So it was a huge mess because in Tennessee, if your child does score below grade level, so if they don't pass in Tennessee in 3rd grade, you can put them in summer school. You have 3 options, I think, maybe 4. I'll tick them off. The options are summer school, write a letter to see if you can get them to pass as a parent, or you can get outside tutoring. If you don't do any of those 3 in the state of Tennessee, your child repeats 3rd grade. And so this year's testing in Tennessee showed that 60% of 3rd graders failed. 60%. Now, I don't think that's very good. The state of Tennessee thought it was fantastic. Okay, the state of Tennessee said, the Tennessee Department of Education, this is a quote, as you see from the quotation marks, ELA scores, so English Language Arts scores, show historic gains. Historic gains. We're doing great. 60%, over half failed. We're doing great. We're great. So 60% failed, and the Tennessee Department of Education says, we're doing such a great job, and you're weird for homeschooling. And then one of the state senators from Tennessee said, quote, we know that there were learning setbacks because of COVID. End of quote. It's COVID's fault. But, I still educated my kid and the kids in our co-op during COVID, and we're not behind. But if you look in 2017, only 1/3 of 3rd graders met grade expectations. Grade expectations, not great, grade expectations on the exam's ELA portion. So if I can do the math. So in 2017, so before COVID, right, 66% failed. And now 60% fail. So, yeah, they're doing 6% better. But still over half of the kids are failing, okay? And then nationally, 49% of kids are not at grade level for math. That's almost half, right? This one hurts my heart because 13% of high school seniors are proficient in U.S. history. History doesn't change. It's not that hard. It's super cool. It's super cool to know. I'm a huge fan of the Founding Fathers, especially my sweet little James Madison. This is my universal sign for James Madison. And when I teach history to the kids at Co-op Man, I put some special jam on the bread. I talk about how great he was, and I talk about Dolly Madison and how men would plan their whole days around when Dolly Madison would walk down the streets in Philadelphia because she was so beautiful, and how courageous she was to save Washington, D.C. when we were fighting the War of 1812. And I really, 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 really push history hard because if we don't understand it, we're going to repeat it. And we could have another James Madison. That would be fine with me. And I always say, that's why we have ice cream, because James Madison. So I always do this big thing for Constitution Day because he wrote the Constitution in the Bill of Rights. And he loved ice cream, so we always have a big celebration for James Madison, and we do ice cream. But anyway, in public school, 13% of kids graduating are not proficient in U.S. history. And I mean, world history, forget it. When you ask people, why did we have World War I? And I always tell my kids, you don't have to know the dates of things because you can look those up on your phone now, but you got to know why. Like, why did the guys who were sitting in the room who wrote the Declaration of Independence or who wrote the Constitution, like, why did they say, we're not going to house the troops? We're not, you can have a gun. Why did they say those things? You got to know that. You got to know why. Or else it doesn't make any sense, right? So, anyway, hurts my heart. Over 80% of families interviewed stated that they have outside tutoring for their public school kids in 2022. 80% of people. So, in public school, kids go to school at like 7, right? They're in school from 7 until about 3. And then they're coming home. The average, I have it here. They're doing a lot of homework. The average high schooler said that they do 15 to 31 or more hours of homework each week. So let's say that everybody takes a Sabbath and you're not doing homework on Sunday afternoon. Okay? No homework on Sunday. So if you're doing 30 hours of homework and you divide that by 6, that's 5 hours a day, right? So let's say Johnny and Susie are going to, let's say Johnny is he's a sophomore. And he leaves the house at 6:30. He's in school from 7 to 3, comes home at 3:30, has 5 hours of homework. So that's like 8:30, right? And then you're also getting him tutoring at home. Like, that's an hour of tutoring. That's significant, I think. That's a significant amount of time that these kids are working and worrying about academics. And do they have time to wonder? Do they have time to sit and wonder about things? Not to mention the times that they're on their phones, right? And then we're trying to get them to go to bed, get enough sleep, eat well. Taco Bell is available. It's hard to get kids to eat well today and to have food for their little brains. But so 80% of people are saying that they are paying for homeschooling. Paying for tutoring for their public school kids. And then in public school, 59% of public school kids currently receive tutoring in school. There's been $189 billion of funds, billion dollars of funds going to public schools in pandemic relief to bring kids back up to the grade level. So kids are in school for a long time, getting tutoring. They're coming home with 5 hours of homework, and they're getting tutoring at home, the great majority of them. It's a mess. It's a mess. Despite all of this, a third of students finish the year below grade level. So despite all that, all those statistics that I showed you earlier are true. They're not at grade level. Despite all of that, only 13% of them know American history. Sonia Schaefer is a longtime homeschooler, and she always says, don't school out the natural curiosity in children. And I think that that's what we're doing, right? With all of this work, and it's not working. It's not working. So you can do it. You can do it. A lot of you, if you have your kids in public school and you are providing tutoring, you're already doing it, and you're not giving yourself credit for it. So I've got some terms that you might want to know as you're getting started. An umbrella school. Is that a new term to some people? You can just shake okay, an umbrella school. All right, I'm just going to tell you what works for me because I think that's the easiest way for me to do it. An umbrella school is a school, quote-unquote school, that you will use who will help you keep up with the requirements, the laws, your attendance, your grades, everything that you need to be a successful homeschooler. So I use an umbrella school called Home Life Academy. I get nothing from them. I pay them a lot, but I don't get anything from them. But they're fantastic. So every year I register my son with Home Life Academy, and I send them the classes he's going to take. I register him with them. I send them, sometimes they have questions. One time I forgot to put his English language arts class on there. I just forgot it. And they were so kind. They sent me an email and said, he's got to have English in 4th grade. Oh, yeah. I just forgot to put that on there. So they watch They watch it. They make sure that you're doing what needs to be done. In high school, it's fantastic because I have a whole flow chart about what he needs. My plan is that he's going to go to a 4-year university because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be a marine biologist and live on a boat and look at fish. And that's awesome. That, I'll support him however he wants to do. And he may change his mind because he's 16. He may change his mind, but I'm going to prepare him for the hardest thing that he can do. And then if he doesn't need all that, then we can pull back. But like I had some friends and they said, "Oh, our daughter Elizabeth is going to be a professional ballerina. So she's not going to go to college. She's going to go to dance school." And she maybe could have made it. I don't know. But then she had a knee injury and she blew out her ACL. So no more dancing at that level. And then she went through physical therapy and she was like, it wasn't me. I wasn't her physical therapist. But she thought that, her physical therapist was just the best thing since sliced bread. And so she decided she wanted to be a physical therapist, which is a great career. And she had not taken anything that she needed to get into college because her parents thought, oh, she's not going to go to college, so she doesn't need to get all these extra sciences and maths and stuff. So then she had to take a year after she graduated high school to get all of her requirements for college. So I have seen that in other people, and I don't want to have to be dealing with that. So I'm preparing him for college as if he is going. So anyway, that is what an umbrella school does. It keeps you on track with what you need to be doing. Then a cooperative school, I said that earlier in my talk. Do y'all know what a cooperative school is? Do I have some no's? Anybody? You might know. Okay, I see some no's. So a cooperative school is basically parent-led, parent-driven school. You get with people and you cooperate in the education of your children. So at our cooperative school, at Heritage Home Scholars in Greenville, Tennessee, what we do is we meet once a week, and we are a supplement. I always say we're a supplement. We're a supplement. We're not the whole education. We're the supplement. And we are in school one day a week, and you sign your kids up for whatever classes that you're going to take. We are actually, I had to turn my phone and everything to do not disturb because we are actually, this is our registration, and since I'm the president, everybody wants to call me and tell me their problems. And my phone's blowing up because, they want their kid in a class that's already closed. But I'm a physical therapist, so I teach anatomy and physiology. I better know it, so I teach it. We've got a constitutional lawyer who teaches civics and government. We've got different people who are really good. We've got a professional chef, and she does a home ec class. And it is really the how to run a business, how to run a any type of a catering business, and then that's 1 hour, then the next hour they cook, and then that's what we eat for lunch. But you have to order it beforehand. But anyway, so we cooperatively educate children, and I'm so thankful for it because I will tell you, so my son next year as a junior, he's going to take marine biology because that's what he wants to do. So he's going to take that, and I'm actually teaching that next year. I used to teach it a lot. And he's going to because anatomy and physiology, God made he made all of us, all the animals, so it's pretty similar. Some differences, but somewhat similar. And then he's going to take American Lit, which I'm super thankful for because I'm not a writer. And he is going to take a psychology class, which is awesome. I don't have to teach that. And then he's going to take a theater class. So it's really great. He's also on the yearbook staff. We have our cooperative school. We have great graduations. We have formals. We have all kinds of field trips. We have karaoke nights. We have bowling nights. We have lots and lots and lots and lots of social activities at our cooperative school. So a cooperative school is as great as you want to make it, or as terrible as you want to make it, depending on what, if you're willing to make it work or not, but you have to make it work. So it's great. I think that they are a great way to educate your children. And then we'll talk about lap books and unit studies as we're going through. But as you think about, so now that you know you can homeschool, you need to start thinking about, okay, well, what are my goals and my passions? What are my needs? Not just my kids' needs. Of course, you need to think about that too, but what are my needs too? What are my values? What do I like? What do I hate? I tell you what I hate. What I think is a complete waste of time, I'm sorry for any ELA teachers, haiku. Can somebody tell me why we need that in our lives? I think it's a bit ridiculous. Anyway, what emphasis what do you want to emphasize in your journey through education? What are your job requirements? Do you have job requirements you need to work around? What are your strengths and weaknesses? You need to know the requirements of your state. So I'm going to pop up a map. Okay, everybody pick out their state in this map because you need to know the colors. I hope the colors are pretty. Okay, that orange looks a little red, but all right. Okay, so everybody got it? Know your state color? Everybody? Okay. So remember your state's color. So if you're green, then your umbrella school is all you need. As long as you have an umbrella school. If you're in the state of Tennessee and you have an umbrella school, that's all you need. You need to call Home Life Academy and say, sign me up, people. And if you are coming from public school into homeschool, they will help you write all the letters. They will actually send them for you. They're lovely. And so that is if you live in a green state, you have to have an umbrella school. Your umbrella school can be your local public school. I only recommend that if your kid wants to play public school sports. At our cooperative school, we've got all the sports. Not all of them. We don't have like men's volleyball. But we've got volleyball, we've got basketball, we've got cross country. We're starting a baseball team. We have football in with another private school, so our kids can play that. So we've got all that, so we don't need to do that. If you live in a yellow states, luckily, there's just one, and I'll let you guess which one it is if you can't see it. It's the most restrictive state. So if you are with Home Life Academy, another reason that I recommend them is that they can legally work in every state. So if you work with Home Life Academy, they will walk you through everything that you need to homeschool in your state. If you live in an orange state, there are no requirements. You can do anything you want or nothing, okay? Government will stay out of your life. And if you live in a blue state, you must fill out a letter of intent and send it to your local school board. Now, sometimes you have to go before your local school board. I think in Virginia, do we have any Virginia folks in here? Do you all still have to go to your local school board, or you just send them? Okay, yeah. What county are you in? Okay. I have some friends that homeschool in Scott County, and I actually am really good friends with the superintendent of Scott County, Virginia schools. Anybody here from Scott County, Virginia? They make you go before the school board, but they've never turned anybody down. But they just want to lay eyes on you, make sure that it's not Dora educating your kids. That you're actually doing something besides. Dora is good. I'm not knocking Dora. And her little backpack. What's her backpack called? Backpack. Well, that's easy. Yeah, sacados. That's how you would say it in French. I don't know in Spanish. But anyway, so now that you know your state laws and now that you're convinced that you can homeschool, let's talk about the most common homeschooling styles. Okay, I'm going to go through the 5 most common homeschooling styles in no particular order. The first one is classical style. Some people call this classical conversations. That's the most common curriculum. Classical style of education comes in 3 phases, and it's somewhat like elementary, middle, and high schools, you might think, those ages. The first phase is a grammar phase. That's where the students absorb and memorize dates, information, spelling, those kinds of rules. The second phase is like 12 through 14-ish, 11 through 14-ish. And that's the dialectic phase. That's when they are doing research and learning logic. And then the third phase is like 14 and up. And that is the rhetoric phase. And that's where they are spitting out the knowledge that they have gained, the memorized facts, the spelling. They are debating. They are talking. They are teaching. Okay, so those are the 3 styles of the classical phase. The word that always comes to my mind when I think of classical education is knowledge. They just are really big into learning facts, just the facts. Okay, and then Charlotte Mason style. Do y'all know Charlotte Mason? Yeah, some people. I will say I didn't know Charlotte Mason. When I first started, this lady made me cry. I never cry. I hardly ever cry. And she was so mean to me because she said something about Charlotte Mason. And I said, oh, is she a member of our co-op? And she was so mean. She told me that I was stupid and that I would never be able to homeschool. I mean, I was crying at the park. I was like, oh, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible person. I didn't know who she was. And so don't let anybody make you feel like that. Because then I became president and I kicked her out. I'm kidding. She moved away. Thank you for laughing. Anyway, she did move away, but she wasn't from the South. And nobody from the South would have said that. Anyway, probably nobody from the North either, except for somebody that was really mean. But anyway, so Charlotte Mason was a lady who lived in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and she lived in Britain, and she basically changed the way education was performed. She said she really loved living books. That's another term. If you don't know what a living book is basically a book written by one author about a subject or subjects that author is very passionate about. So I always say the first thing that comes to my mind is Little House on the Prairie books. Laura Ingalls Wilder, yeah. Do you? Yeah. Yep. Okay, so living books are books that inspire passion. They educate and they also entertain. They are emotional. Where the Red Fern Grows. Do y'all know that book? That's emotional. Woo! I really think that's one of the 3 best pieces of American literature that's ever been written. I think it's great. You can read it at any age, and it just, so great. Anyway, Charlotte Mason. Late 1800s, Britain, she said, listen, kids need to have their hands on to learn. Don't just sit them at a desk and talk to them. Help them to learn. So there was a textbook written in the 1950s when public schools used to do more Charlotte Mason style education. And the science book was from, I think it was a 4th grade science textbook. And it said, for the lesson, it was on snakes. And it said, if your school is near a creek, have the boys go down and catch a snake. And bring the snake and put it in an aquarium in your classroom. And keep that snake alive for 4 weeks. Feed that snake, see what that snake likes to eat, what it doesn't like to eat, see what habitat it likes, see what it does. Watch the snake, observe, do all the things. And then when you're done with that lesson, kill the snake. And then you're going to dissect the snake and learn all about the snake, right? That's how she would do it. And that's how the textbooks used to do it. Also, narration is big. So Charlotte Mason believed that if you could teach someone else about it, you had learned it, right? So you're taking in information, then you're putting it out in your own words. So you're going to read. So if I asked you what that Little House on the Prairie book was about, you would be able to stand up and tell us in a nutshell what it was about. That's narration. Then there's traditional, but at home. So if you went to public school, that is more like what you did as a student. You study a textbook, you learn from a teacher, it's probably you, whoever's here. You're going to take tests, and you're going to know facts. Then unit studies. Unit studies are fun because they base all the learning on a theme or subject. All of your schoolwork will revolve around the topic of choice. So let's say you're wanting to teach about penguins. So if you wanted to do a unit study, you would read Mr. Popper's Penguins. Let's say you have a third grader. So you read Mr. Popper's Penguins, and then you study where the penguins live, and you study, so you're learning geography. Then you could do, art, drawing the penguins. Science is on the penguins, anatomy, physiology, all the things of a penguin. At that level, I would be doing food chains, food webs, food diagrams. Then you could study all the animals that the penguins eat, all the animals that eat penguins. And you're making lap books. Do y'all know what lap books are? LAP, lap books. Lap books, you can look at them on Pinterest if you've never seen them. They're amazing. You should look at them. My lap books for my kid, because I'm not an artist, so he would just have a folder. He would draw something on the front of the folder, and then we would have pockets in the folder, and he would put like math worksheets in there. He would put an atlas in there. He would do his coloring pages. They would go in that folder. Everything about that unit study goes in that folder, and then at the end of 6 weeks or whatever, you've got your curriculum that you did, okay, and it's in there for the kid for his or her records. Unschooling is a type of education where you say to your kids, what are you interested in? Dinosaurs, tractors, banjos? Oh, if it's banjos, I'm so sorry for all of you parents because banjos are really loud. But I do know somebody who was into banjos, and she did a whole year on banjos, and now she's a professional musician and very successful at it. And she told me one time there were 3 kids in her family, and they were all unschooled, homeschool. And one is a physician, one is a banker, and she's a musician. And so they all had very different paths of study, but they're all successful in what they do. So the interest of your student drives your education. A lot of people think that if you unschool, you're not organized, but I actually think if you unschool, you have to be super organized because you have to come up with all the curriculum. So I actually think that is probably hardest. But anyway, a lot of people have done it successfully. So which style works for you? I'm going to ask you all some questions, and I want you to either or okay? Do you want to stay in step with the local school system? Do you want your student to learn the way you learned? Is that important for you? You feel comfortable the way you learned? You want them to learn that way? Do you want to teach the way you were taught? And this is pretty common too. If you have other kids in the public school system, so sometimes you have kids with special needs and they've got an IEP and they're getting their physical therapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy at school, at public school, and you want to keep doing that, and that's totally understandable. And if you're in that case, if you were like, all those things speak to me, then you would be more traditional You need to look at a more traditional method of homeschooling. If you want to linger with art, nature, and music, if you want to go outside and do a nature study and look at grass and draw it, or look at worms and draw them. If you want your students to be more self-guided in their education, and if you love reading books, then you are more into Charlotte Mason. You need to look at Charlotte Mason hands-on stuff. If you want your child or your children to decide what they want to learn every year, and if you love library days, and if you hate to plan out the whole year, not plan out what you're going to do tomorrow, but plan out the whole year, if you want your children to have their own paths of education, then you need to be thinking about unschooling. If you love testing, if you love rigorous and challenging educational plans, and you want your children to memorize facts, if you want them to be public speakers very early on, if you already know you want to raise up a politician or a lawyer, classical conversations, that's your jam right there. That's what you need to be looking at. And if you love going to Hobby Lobby, if you love hands-on experiments and crafts, and you want to do deep dives and hang out in deep dives, if you want to go an inch wide and a mile deep, as opposed to the public school system, which has to go an inch deep and a mile wide to cover everything, then you need to be thinking about unit studies. You need to be picking out some good books, and you need to be like Robert McCloskey. If you've got little bitty kids, I cannot recommend Robert McCloskey enough. Everybody heard of him? Robert McCloskey. I'm going to say it again for everybody. Robert McCloskey. He was a guy who lived in New England, and he was a writer and an illustrator. His books, he had a book like Make Way for Ducklings, Blueberries for Sal, all kinds of books. And they're great. You can read like Make Way for Ducklings. It's about the ducks in Boston. You can do all of your education for weeks on that one. Never mind. I was going to say how to make an apple pie and see the world, but he didn't write that. But anyway, that's another one of those like that. So unit studies. You don't have to do just one way. You can do a mishmash also. I do a mishmash. And I probably do some Charlotte Mason. That tracks with me. I do not like snakes, so we don't do the snakes. But we do a lot of Charlotte Mason stuff, but we also do traditional stuff too. I mean, my kid's in high school, so algebra is not just going to be absorbed by his brain. We have to practice it. How you can get your curriculum, you can get them. I tried not to tell you things that I do, because you need to make it your own, right? But I just wanted to give you broad strokes. So broad strokes, you can get ready to go packs. That would be like I talked to somebody about Abeka. An Abeka curriculum, you can, or Sunlight, you can get whatever grade your kids are in, and you just get a grade in a box. You can get ready-made curriculum for each subject. That's what I do. Mostly, you can get online curriculum. I will say we don't do any online learning at my house. Literature-based curriculum. You can write your own curriculum. You can get classical conversations. You can get living books, or you can buy used textbooks and just piece things together. But whatever you choose, remember that your curriculum should serve you. You are not a slave to that curriculum. So if you buy something and you hate it, I hated the Institute for Excellence in Writing. I think IEW. Man, I thought that poor guy, I'm sorry if anybody in here knows him. I'm sure he's a lovely person. But I thought, I'm going to pluck out my nose hairs one by one if I have to watch one more video of him. And so I talked to some friends who were really good at ELA, and they said, why don't you switch to another one? And so I did. And it worked really well for us. And what we landed on was Right Shop for grammar and literature. I love Apology of Science. It's a Charlotte Mason-based science curriculum. It goes all the way from kindergarten on up. Saxon Math. Saxon Math is hard. People complain because it's hard. Math is hard. The only way you learn math is by practicing it. And man, my dad, he's an engineer. He's a retired engineer. And I practiced math a whole lot. And it has helped me a whole lot in my life. Winter's Promise, I recommended that to somebody earlier. That's a great company. They do more than history and geography, but I love their history and geography. And then Sunlight is a curriculum that a lot of people like. And if you still have questions, I will be around because I was supposed to finish at 2:30 and it's 2:29 and 46 seconds, baby. So if you still have questions, I'll be around. We've got a little bit of time before the next speaker comes in here, but I will be around. You've got my email, you've got our website, and you've also got my personal cell phone number on here. I'll be around tonight. My husband's playing, and I don't really want to hear him. I'm kidding. I'll be here all evening, though. And then just come find me. Joel and I are kind of hanging out. Temple has left, but we're still hanging out in the main speakers area. There's a tent. As soon as you go behind the green monsters, what they call it, that green wall, there's a tent, and we're sitting there. And you can meet his grandson, Andrew, who was lovely. Yeah. So is that it? I guess that's it. Okay. Any questions? Oh, my husband, he plays bass. They call him Elmer. He's the Elmer's glue. Yeah, so the question was, if there's not a cooperative school in your area, are there ways to start one? Yeah, there's all kinds of, you can find anything on Google now. But there's all kinds of ways that will walk you through, and also Home Life Academy is good to help with that. They're really good, and they can put you in touch with people who can be helpful. And you've got my number, so you can call me or text me or email me. Yeah. Yep. For my kid so it's interesting because if you look at the national statistics for public schoolers, I didn't even put this in. Do you know how much one-on-one time, how many minutes of one-on-one time the average student and teacher get in public school? 1 minute and 2 seconds. So 62 seconds the kids are getting one-on-one time with their teacher in school. And so people say, well, you're not really doing anything in homeschool because you're done so early. Well, I mean, we don't have to go over 2 times 2 is equal. Like, if your kid gets it, you can move on. And if they don't get it, you stick with it until they get it. And so our average day, now he's he's a junior now, so it's a little different because he's learning Spanish now and all these other things because he's dual enrolling. And, but by and large, I mean, we were done before 3 hours, right? And if you count PE and or lunch, then it was about 4 hours. Okay, no. If you live in an orange state, you don't have to be anything. You get they do, like Home Life Academy, what they will recommend is that you have one level of education higher than whatever you're teaching. And that's what we do in our cooperative school. So if you have a high school degree or a high school diploma, then you're going to teach middle school and down. If you have a college degree, we have you teach, but that's just for our cooperative school, right? So if you feel comfortable with it, you can teach whatever you want. And the other thing is, people say, I couldn't do it. Well, you've got the teacher's books. And there are a lot of online resources. Because I'm a math whiz. Like, I am really, legitimately good in math. Like, I'm down with it. And there's stuff in Algebra 2 that my kid was learning this year, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I didn't tell him that, but in my head, I'm like, he's never going to use this. This is stupid. Why are we learning this? This is ridiculous, these parabolas and all this stuff. If anybody uses that, if they're like a mathematician, if they're a college professor, okay. But, I don't use that on the farm or as a physical therapist. So, there's online resources for that kind of stuff, and so you can get help when you need it. Yep. There was somebody else that had a question. Oh. That is where the umbrella schools shine. They help you with all of that. So yeah, you need that. He's actually, we went back and forth on that, and then I talked him into using that as one of his dual enrollment courses. So he can do one semester of dual enrollment, and it counts for one whole high school credit. So he's going to do that. So we'll see. Yeah. And plus he needs to be pushed a little bit, so let somebody else push him.
You say for a family where both parents work full-time, but also want to consider homeschooling,
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, I know people who have hired teachers to come in and teach their kids, and then they're kind of a nanny too, and they're helping that way. I know people who have who homeschool, like they work 4-10s, so then they homeschool Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you can get it done. You can get it done. And then I also know people who she doesn't work outside the home, but she homeschools 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, all year long. So you can definitely make it work for you. It's whatever works for you. Anybody else? Going one. Oh! I'm so yeah. Hold on just a second. In the Hawaiian shirt. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think that you have to get what works for you. My thing is you gotta hit that math hard. That's my thing. And so some of those, like the life of Fred for math, you can't learn. I mean, you can learn 2 + 2 that way, but you cannot learn geometry or algebra 2 that way. I mean, that's hard, So that's when I say I always recommend Saxon math. But other than that, yeah, I think those are good. I think it's just whatever your kid is, however they learn. Okay, Hawaiian shirt. Heritage Home Scholars. Yeah, depending on what state you're in. What state are you in? Yes, and I think in North Carolina, I think you could also teach all the way through high school at home. Now, it depends on what your local cooperative school wants to do. But yeah, I think you're good to go. Going once? Going twice? Oh, where? Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, I think they're awesome. I think that's so great. We're dealing with, in public school where we live in our little bitty town, in our little bitty rural area, we are dealing with, in the elementary and the middle school, we're having so many issues with furries. Do y'all know furries? I had no idea what a furry was. And when they told me, I laughed and said, "You've got to be kidding me." And then, so in a neighboring county, somebody sued the school system because they didn't have litter boxes out for the kids to use. And so, I mean, I don't mean to be ugly, but that was ugly. I didn't mean to be ugly. So they won, and so now the school system has to provide litter boxes, which I was like, there's no kid using this litter box, because if the kid uses a litter box and the kid's going to get beaten up on the playground, which is now a hate crime I have learned. And but they're still not using the litter boxes, right? So they're just wanting special attention. And that's one thing that we're really dealing with in public schools. So even though we have small public schools, like our cooperative school is one of the biggest schools in our county, much bigger than even our city. I take that. Our city's high school might be a little bit bigger, but it's much bigger. Like, we have a K-8 school near our house, and our homeschool cooperative is bigger than that K-8 public school. So it's not like we're in New York City and we're dealing with that stuff. So if you can, anything you can do to get out of that, I mean, why does a 5-year-old need to know about that stuff? you know? So I think that those are great. Yeah, if I lived near here, you better believe Rebecca Lamb would be educating my kid. I'd have him over there at that school every day. It'd be another kid for her to take care of. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I hope that everybody's getting encouraged and learning. Do y'all feel like you're on a mountaintop being here this weekend? Is everybody encouraged and everybody learning stuff? And do you feel joyful? Hot, but joyful? Yeah, there's joy in the Lord even in the heat. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If somebody, I'll make my way back there, but if somebody wants to buy books or come up and ask questions, you can, and then that way maybe I wouldn't have to carry that whole box back. So, okay, thanks so much.